16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to...
He's on. You're on.
Okay, I thought it was. It's necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Discussion on it?
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. First, on the agenda, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed that and make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd? Yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook? Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. The next on the agenda is property inventory discussion, and Michael from engineering is here, and he's going to be presenting several pieces of properties, and we will discuss each one on how we plan on disposing of it.
Thank you, Chairman McAdoo. Like you said, Deputy to the Mayor, Sandlin asked me to look at several pieces of property that were on the county's inventory that we had acquired over the years, and we've come up with a list of a few of these that we want to talk about tonight. The first one is a piece of property. It's 4 acres on tax map 65, parcel 18. Off of East Trimble Road. It doesn't have an address and it is landlocked. And from what I could gather, it was a delinquent tax acquirement that the county got. So it's, like I said, a landlocked piece of property in a rough piece of wooded, rocky land. The topography is steep. It's about 15 acres, and we got it through the tax, delinquent tax process. So, you know, it's zoned residential low density, and it's would not be much benefit to anybody except for maybe the surrounding property owners. So. That's the first piece of property that we're looking at tonight. And try to...
Committee, do you want to discuss each one of them separately?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, basically, we've given you the pattern book, showing you a lot of different properties that we have out there. We just pulled no rhyme or reason selection like Mike had told you, and they did a real good job pulling up, you know, tax book, zoning, flooding, not flooding, any kind of, you know, square footage exactly or acreage exactly, the FEMA flood zone, whether it is or not, 100-year flood, a lot of different things on that information sheet right there. And so we're bringing up to you these few pieces of property. If you want to look at them all first, and then we'll talk about them, think of them. There may be 1 or 2 here that you may want to pull off. We're just it was requested back a few months ago to pull up these properties that are excess. We could put these back on the tax roll. We've got interested parties, you know, either neighbors, subdivisions, that these properties have been acquired through lack of paying the taxes or whatever that the county has required them, and we could get these back on the tax rolls. Some properties either have a building on them or do not have a building on them, and would be beneficial maybe to the side property owner or adjoining property owner. So what we thought was we'd throw these properties out here at you to the committee, look at them, think about them, if you want to do something with them. A lot of options here. We could interview real estate companies and all that and list these with them. We could do like what the cities have been doing in the past few years. We could do it ourselves, put a sign on it, put it on our television station, our county television station, our websites and all that sort of stuff. Price it at market value, come back and tell you what those prices are. That's one thing we didn't do tonight, is put prices on this property of values. We want to check with the property assessor's office and make sure what those numbers should be and comparables around these properties, because some of it's in commercial, some of it's in industrial or light industrial, heavy industrial, or residential. So we can come back with you. We just kind of wanted to throw it out there, see what your feedback was and how you wanted to adjust. If we wanted to auction the properties like we have with the bank building, if we want to list them and keep that, you know, that the funds here and put it back into ending fund balance, we can do that. And basically sell these properties like the cities have done, you know, like Middle Tennessee Medical Center, you know, Boulevard, so where they've gotten the properties and then sold them. So ask any questions you want and we'll try to answer those, but we'll show you all the pieces of property first if you want to.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. Maybe if we look at all the pieces of property first, committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Richard Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, I had one question. I think you answered it. The question I had was the data as far as the assessed value of it. You don't have all that on any of the, okay.
No, sir. I didn't have it turned on. No, sir. Did not. We can get that. We didn't do it. We wanted to see what your thoughts were on it first. I mean, it wouldn't be too big of a trouble to have this for your next meeting, you know, as far as what the market value is, and put it for sale and advertise it through our means of the county of everything that we have, and get feedback and sell it directly that way. We can do that and hold it in-house.
One other question, with the data that you got here and everything, so do you have a list of high priority ones that, you know, that you would recommend at this point?
Well, these, we pulled these out. I mean, there's some that we've got to do some more research on and look on, definitely so, but these are a handful. How many we've got, Mike?
Well,
5
we
or
originally had
6?
7, but I think we're just going to talk about 5 of them tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Commissioner Trey?
So you say you're going to put out, kind of come up with the market value in the future going forward. Would you also be able to list how we obtained the property? You said some from back taxes, they defaulted, it could have been something else, but just...
Yes, sir. We have on the bottom of each sheet on your iPad, there's a sheet for each piece of property, and at the very bottom, it's got miscellaneous info.
I see now.
And it this first one's got delinquent taxes with forfeiture.
Okay. I see that now. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any
Mr. Chairman,
comment?
hey, I just want to let my iPad.
Shannon?
I stepped a while ago. Mine's not doing right. I can't pull them up.
Steve, you want to check with IT right quick? Can all the committee members see?
Yeah, when you click on it, you have to kind of let it download for a few seconds.
Okay, can everyone see? See the property? Okay, do we need to go back over property number 1, or you want us to continue on?
Okay, just a quick reference. The property assessor on this first has got the land value at $26,200. And I can look those up, each one if you'd like me to, or we can just move on and get that later.
I'm just curious, do you know the percentage of accuracy of that?
I do not. We might have to get some help from the
That's why I
property
would like
assessors.
just a little more to, yeah. I'd like to do a surrounding comp, which I can pull those, and I have not done these on any of these. This would just be the assessor of properties that's assessed these properties at that number. So that'd be 2020 number, Mike, of what the appraised value would be. So we can probably get a little bit better number than that with today's market.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll be able to get more detailed information, but we wanted to get these out to you tonight so you can start looking at them and make a decision on them and ask questions like you're doing. And some of you may want to even jump in your car or whatever and go out and look at it. I don't know. But we got to start somewhere. And we've been carrying this on for several months, as you know, and we need to move on this. I hate to just keep dragging it out month per month and so on and so forth. So we'll ask him to continue on with property number 2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think not only the iPads, but my computer is having little issues too. Let me try that again, load that one again. The next one is on Stewart's Creek Road, and I think I might just go to my maps for that one because it's not loading properly. Stewart Creek Road is right there. Technology is wonderful when it works. Gremlins are working with us. So it is tax map 72, parcel 17.03. It is a 3.2 acre parcel that is also a delinquent tax forfeit. It's right here, a landlocked piece of property. This is a brand new subdivision called Pembroke that's being constructed right now. You can see some of the houses in the front here that have already been built, but it's surrounded, there's pretty significant hill around there. The soil is mainly, you've got your Talbot rock, your Bradyville rock, and Mimosa rock. So it's rock, or rock, and cedar trees. So pretty steep slopes, 8.5 to 17.5% slopes. Sitting up pretty high, so it's not in a flood zone, but it is a good-looking piece of property on this hill around here, and it might be of benefit to somebody surrounding it, one of these other property owners.
Well, commissioners, like this piece of property that he's showing, these property owners that are going to be adjoining this right here, if not already, they could use it as a park, a community garden, something like that, where we would just notify each one of them that adjoins it and talk to them about it and work with them about it instead of like us being a realtor, so to speak, but we would be talking to them a little bit on a more of a personable way and presenting this property of something that they might could use for a community park or walking trail or something like that for this property. So, and that's really all the properties that we would be pulling up, unless it's a direct commercial piece or an industrial piece or something like that. Then that's how we're going to have to address some of these.
I was under the impression you couldn't landlock.
I was under that impression too.
How did
yes.
that get landlocked?
Over the years, properties would get carved off and divided, and just technically anything below 5 acres has to be platted, has to have a subdivision plat. 5 acres and above can be separated by deed. And if a surveyor creates a property description, and technically it can be carved off, but yes, throughout the county there's several of these landlocked parcels that have been created throughout the years, and there's another one right next to it, but I don't know how they were created specifically, but that's, we try to catch those on the front end now, but some of these have been created over the years and we don't have any control over that. So hopefully they have an access easement through the neighboring property that they can access the property.
Well, was that a subdivision right there with it?
Yes, well, next door to it. This was a parcel that was created, a larger parcel that was created, this subdivision was created from. It's on a step system. It has its own sewer system. It has CUD water now and built to county standards. But this property that the county owns was not, it's just adjacent to it. It wasn't in that subdivision. So.
Okay. Any more questions on property 2? If not, property 3?
All right. The next one is on the corner of Rice Street and Burton. Let's see if I can find that one.
All right.
Okay. It is directly south of the archives. The county archives building is right here, this building with the black roof. This is Rice Street running north and south, and West Burton running east and west. This is a commercially zoned piece of property inside the city limits of Murfreesboro. It does have city water, city sewer, and it is approximately 0.46 acres or 20,000 square feet. Not in a flood zone, pretty level piece of property. Right within, south of, if you know where the MAC is, I can kind of show you on the map.
While he's looking up that, Commissioner, you notice at the bottom, the Board of Education purchased this property back in 1941, and then we acquired it back in, I believe it said 08 or 04?
Yes.
04?
Yes, sir. So,
and this might be one of these pieces you put a price on it, but there may be a piece that you keep because we're just adding to the archives building back here now. It may be some future down the road, but again, that's just one that we threw out there for you to take a look at and see what you want to do.
Right. So here's the MAC up here, the Murfreesboro Athletic Center, the city archives right to the north of it, and the subject properties right here on the corner. So like I said, it's not a bad piece of property, zone commercial with water and sewer, city water and sewer. And if you need me to, I can go back in time a little bit. I do have some older aerial images that I can go back and show you what was on the property before. Here's back in 2000. You can see the structure that was there. It was a pretty substantial structure and a parking lot at the time. So it has been since demolished and is now just vacant land. But it's got all kinds of potential for that one.
Any questions on it? If not,
Sorry? Okay, the next piece of property is the old county jail on West Main Street, 400 West Main Street. It is tax map 91K, Group K, parcel 18. And it is just a little over half an acre, 0.53 acres, zone commercial. Property directly to the south of it on the south side of West Main Street is commercial highway. Everything else on the east side of Front Street is a central business district, CBD. It is also on city water and sewer, but there is a sewer trunk line running through the northeast corner of that property. So that would be a little bit of a challenge, or would have to be relocated if somebody needed a larger parcel there. Let's see, and
We get calls on this property at least once a month. and we've already got 3 or 4 close proximity owners that are interested in this property. But it's a decision what you want to do. We don't have any numbers on it yet, and I'd be glad to get you those, with any of these that you want to do.
If I recall, at one time, was the city needing an easement or something to do something here at one time?
They asked us if they could use the property as a material storage yard when they were working on College Street, Lytle Street. But there was also a communications company that we granted an easement for on the southern and kind of eastern property lines, just a small easement.
So the acreage would stay the same then?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
It's got fiber on it. That was United Communications out of Chapel Hill, and we gave permission to run that fiber. Oh, and they ran it across our property to run it over to the DA's office, District Attorney's office.
There is a little bit of FEMA flood zone on the property. Well, it is in the 1% chance and Zone X. You can see a little bit of this area here is, but it's nothing that couldn't be dealt with. You can build in the FEMA flood zone. You just have to elevate the property to protect it from flooding.
So is there a creek over there causing
Yes,
it to be in
yes.
the flood zone?
That's Lytle Creek, I believe.
Okay, all right.
Right there.
One that runs behind Dodge Store.
And the Greenway runs along it too, the city's Greenway. Yes, yes, ma'am. And like I said, I can go back in time and go on the Wayback Machine. No, I can't go back that far. But that's an interesting fact that the county purchased that property in 1887. So that's 130 some odd years old piece of property we've had.
What about the next piece?
Yes, sir. All right, the next one is a challenging piece of property. Is on Midland Fosterville Road. Let's see. And it also is a delinquent tax forfeit, but this, like I said, is a challenging piece of property. It's only 16 2/3 feet wide by 600 feet long. So it's a driveway, essentially.
We got interest in on this one too because the property owner in the back and actually the property owner in the side. So I feel pretty confident that one of those, it would benefit those two for sure, especially the one in the back. As soon as he pulls it up, you'll see. So that would be something that we need to do. That gets that little piece back on the tax road and also them access to their property in the back.
Right. That landlocked property owner could benefit from that.
I think, Mike, this one was a utility easement or something at one point?
I don't know. It shows up as a delinquent tax forfeiture as well on the deed.
I was thinking there was something with consolidated on there or something, I thought, but
like I said, it's extremely narrow piece of property. It's this piece right here on Midland Fosterville. Yeah, right. And that, I believe, that we withdrew a couple that we were going to talk about, but I believe that's all of the ones that we had for you. Let me double check. Yep, I believe that's it. So
Commissioners, once we
the Midland Fosterville, all right, that one. Yes, 18017.01.
like the chairman had said, once we get the ball rolling and how you want this even presented, how you want us to bring it to you, all the information that you want, like prices, we'll do that on the next row. So, and anything else that we bring before you, we give you some market values. That'd be good to see at this point, and then how you want to address them. So, Mr. Chairman.
Also, Mike will be able to give you copies if you want to go out and look at them yourselves.
Yes.
You know, if you want to go out in specific district and look at this piece of property. And it's another thing I thought about also. Some of these properties may be in another commissioner district that's not on this committee. So therefore, I think it would be nice that we contact them also, you know, and let them get involved, because they may know more about this piece of property than is being presented to us. So that's some of the research that we'll be doing also.
Yes, sir. But those are the properties I had for you tonight.
Mr. Chair, just a thought that I had when presenting these properties. I know that the downtown properties, you know, what future would we might need them for, if anything. So maybe when you're presenting it, maybe scale it like 1 to 5, with 5 being a high opportunity that we may need it. With 1, you can't even think of imagination as far as needing it. That might be helpful as far as making a recommendation if we should maybe keep it for a while, to, especially in the downtown area where property's hard to find and our needs are just growing. So,
on these 5 pieces of property, I think coming from this committee, it's been presented to you. I myself am thinking maybe we need to put it in our deputy director hand and let him along with Mike come up with some ideas of how much it's worth, how we plan on getting rid of it, or some ideas, and who they contacted, and just give us a detailed information on each piece of property by our next meeting. And then that would give each one of you time to go out. If you want to personally look at it yourself, you can go out and look at it and discuss with the engineering department, with Steve, and maybe hopefully by next month we can come up with a solution how we plan on getting rid of each piece of this property, each piece. So that's my thinking. Now you committee members may have some more input. If so, we would like to hear it now so we can move on with this project.
I'll make one comment, Mr. Chairman, that when we as a county are sitting on surplus property, if we don't have in our vision of the next 5 to 10 years of what we could use that property for, my position is that, and my recommendation to the committee is we try to sell it and put it back on the tax roll to where we're receiving taxes from the person we're sending it to, because just like we saw today in the insurance committee, our rates are continuing to increase. We'll see that as we get into the budget process. So the insurance committee will be making a recommendation. They voted today to accept Cigna, stay with the same company. However, the rates are much higher. So I don't want to lay a property tax increase at the feet of our citizens at this point if we can find other ways to bring in revenue. That's what our office is constantly doing, looking for ways we can bring in additional revenue to help offset any type of property tax increase. And you'll see more coming probably at steering Monday night. Another opportunity.
Commissioner Dodd.
Steve, is the spreadsheet you sent out, the Excel, the most current one? It's been 3 months ago.
Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Detailed info on all the property, market value on all the properties that we're presenting or whatever, and then need for the county, if any, and the time frame. Was there any others that I missed?
Contact the
Contact
commissioners in
the
the district.
commissioner of that district.
Oh, okay. Well, we list that on there, but contact them. Okay.
Personally contact them.
Okay,
so.
gotcha.
That was going to be my statement, that maybe interact with the commissioner in that district, so you got to cover it.
Any other discussion?
This just discussion, do you need a,
I don't think we need a motion at this time.
No,
This is just
no.
information only. He's going to bring this information back to us.
Yeah.
Once he brings this information back to us, then we'll have a clear way to vote on it.
That's right.
But right now, it's just for information to be brought back to the committee.
Okay, next.
Now, this will not be the last 5 pieces of property you'll hear about. We'll be looking at all of it. I tried to get Commissioner Gooch to work on the delinquent tax subcommittee, but he didn't, and everybody volunteered me. So we will be looking at these properties and bringing them back to you. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Cook.
I want to make sure I understand this. Would we have it a silent bid, quotes on it, for them to turn in silent bids? And then if we're not happy with what they've turned in, we could auction it?
The deputy director will be bringing us back with information on each piece of property, how he, the engineer, think that we should dispose of that property. Now, if we do not like what is brought back at the next meeting, we can vote it up or down, or make our comments on each piece of property. But we're not setting tonight a sealed bid on all 5 pieces of property. That's the information they got to bring back to us, how they want to get, how they think we should proceed in getting rid of this property. Like Commissioner Gooch stated, it may be a couple of pieces of this property we don't want to get rid of. We find out that we need to keep this because something's coming in the next couple of months. That's the reason they're going to bring all this information before we make a decision. Did that? Any more questions on it? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda is public safety request. Trish. And this is coming from, I guess, Public Safety Committee.
It is.
Who is on
It
the
is.
Public Safety Committee in here?
It's coming from public safety.
Yes. So Monday night at Public Safety Committee, I presented a request, and it was approved there, but I want to go over with you what that request was. As some of you may know, our recovery courts have a foundation associated that's a nonprofit, and a private donor has approached our board with a desire to donate. I believe the amount's $3,000 that I was told. And the only contingency on that is that this private donor has asked if we can put a plaque up dedicating one of our treatment rooms to Judge Bragg, who recently retired, and another plaque in dedication to Mary Schneider, who was, my understanding, it was before my time, but I believe she was the original director of the recovery courts or the drug court program here in Rutherford County. And my understanding is because it would be a plaque on a county building, I need permission from your committee in order to do so. It would not cost the county any money. The private donor will be paying for the plaques, and they will be being installed through that. So it's not a county charge, it's just being placed in a county building.
I assume this is the new judicial building.
No, that's the recovery court.
Recovery court building?
It's the recovery court building, and it's at 525 North University.
Dr. John's old building.
Are there any other plaques up already?
There is a plaque on the very front of the brick building that talks about the county commissioners who, I guess, voted to allow us to purchase the property, but that is at this time the only permanent fixture on the building.
I remember Mary being the first director there. Who was the first judge? Was it Bragg?
I believe it would have been Judge Ash.
Judge Ash?
Judge Ash.
Does he have a plaque?
He does not have a plaque.
Mayor, could you
Without-
donate $1,000?
Well, without going into
you got
detail
several
about the
judges.
private donor,
Yeah.
because he or she is asked to remain anonymous, that person has specified that they want a minimum of 2 plaques with those 2 people's names, and then after that, it could be.
Oh, you got Judge McFarland that runs the Veterans Court in the same building.
Is Judge Bragg the second judge after Ash?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Or drug court.
Yes.
Yeah.
We run several courts in that building.
We have 4 courts in that building that are operated by 4 different judges.
Commissioner Johnson?
Who would make the final decision of who the plaques would be, the names and everything?
My understanding is the private donor those were the 2 names that were brought to me. The donor went to our board president, Thomas Parkerson, with the request and the names, and those were the 2 mentioned, and he actually mentioned Judge Ash's name as well, but the 2 that the donor had requested were Ms. Schneider and Judge Bragg.
Public Safety sent it to you all because you all control the property, and then it will go on to the full commission to be voted upon about putting their names on there at the request of the private donor.
And the donor did mention Judge Ash?
No, just Bragg.
It was just Judge Bragg that was mentioned.
I would say that this private donor is wanting to repay somehow. They were connected to Bragg and getting them through the drug court, recovery court.
I understand that, but I thought you had mentioned that Judge Ash was not one of the judges mentioned, but it was talked about.
It was discussed amongst myself and the board president, Mr. Parkerson, and I believe he and the private donor had discussed Judge Ash, but the private donor was very specific that he or she preferred it to be Judge Bragg and Ms. Schneider.
But as a committee, so his money is going, the $3,000, and where is that donation going to again?
So there's a nonprofit that is associated with the recovery courts, and we utilize the funding for that. So if one of our clients doesn't have the ability to pay their rent coming out of jail, we assist them through that to pay their rent. Things that are supplemental cost that the government doesn't have the money for, oftentimes our nonprofit raises the funding. We've paid for people's medications when they don't have the ability to pay for them and things like that.
I'm just wondering, as a committee, could we, I would like to approve this, but with Judge Ash also.
Your motion?
That's my motion.
Hey, a second?
Second.
Hey,
I'm just wondering if the private donor, I guess the private donor, you'd have to go back and ask the private donor if they wanted Judge Ash on there since they're donating the money outside the sign.
Well, okay, good question. So is the donor paying for the plaques?
Yes.
Donor's willing to pay for the plaques and wants to have them in the installation, and all that will come out of
So
the fund.
$3,000, it won't cost but, less than $100 for 2 plaques. So the rest of the money will stay in the foundation.
well, I would like to look at it another step. You call out Judge Ash, and I know that we've had other judges to work on that project, working there now. You mentioned Veterans Court, so I don't know why you can't look at any individual that we see fit that need a plaque in that building and bring that back to us. As far as me trying to pick a judge, 1 judge, 2 judges, or whatever.
Well, the only reason I mentioned Judge Ash is because I talked about Mary being the first director. I think Judge Ash was like the very first judge, and that's the reason I wanted to maybe have a plaque for him.
I'll pay for that if you want to put a sign on there, I'll pay for that out of my budget. I don't think that we have that authority to step on a private donor and tell them how to spend the
Tell them
money.
how to spend the money.
I understand.
But I still would like to see.
And I'm with you, because
Back
Judge
to-
Ash he was one of the first ones in the state to bring about a
That's what I'm
drug court.
saying.
Mr. Johnson?
Well, my question was, the way it reads here says, they name the rooms for past staff members and treatment team members. Who's going to decide who gets what?
I didn't put the specifics on there, but the two that were specifically mentioned by the donor were Judge Bragg and Ms. Schneider. Those were the only two that he or she wanted on a plaque on the treatment rooms that were mentioned. And I believe if I told you who the private donor was, but they've asked to remain anonymous, you would understand more of that, but I can't do that.
Yeah, we don't need to know that. Okay, you heard the motion. You still stating just Judge Ash and not look at everybody? Commissioner?
So how much is you said you think the plaque's about $100?
That'd be less than that. That plaque I put right out there for Vicki Taylor and named the break room after Vicki Taylor was $35. That's
Well,
why I said
I'll donate the money for Ash.
I'd pay for it out of my
I
budget.
want to be anonymous, though.
Okay.
Well, still, I would like to see a list brought back to us, because I know Judge McFarland worked hard in that Veterans Court.
Yes, he has.
And he's still
Yes, he
working. I mean, he works on it every year and send out invitations to come and whatnot. And I hate to leave anybody out. So if the board can come up with a list of names and bring them back to us, I don't see no reason why we won't move forward with it. But I just hate to just add one name and then maybe it's somebody I'm missing.
Well, you're missing $3,000 going into the foundation by the anonymous donor. So take care of those two and then bring back a list.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Bring back the list. We can add on to whoever we want.
That's right.
But go ahead and take the donation out. We never turned down the donation on that project
Thank you.
for the new members of this committee or ones that hadn't been working with it. I was there since day one on that project. And so I know. And it was a lot of donations given. And they didn't want the name, revealed or whatnot. So we can go ahead and move on that. I don't see no problem with that. But I just like for us to take it a step further.
Motion.
Okay, we heard the motion and we got a second. Any more discussion? If not, caller, you want to hear the motion repeated?
Yes.
Yes. Our first was Commissioner Gooch. Who was the second? Dodd. And the motion is to approve and utilize funding from the donor. Hang on. To approve and utilize funding donated to the foundation to place plaques as requested in the Recovery Court building. Do you want the two names mentioned specifically?
When the chairman said, is that your motion, my motion was to add Judge Ash.
Okay. So we're going to change her original motion.
Well, we hadn't got a motion on hers yet.
No, my motion was to
Just that Judge Ash.
approve this request and add Judge Ash with the plaque also. That was the motion.
Call the roll.
Everybody understand what we're looking at now? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, let me just say something. We might go down a road by adding Ash into that motion where the donor doesn't have a connection to Ash or know who Ash is since he retired, and may not want to buy his $3,000. He wants to buy 2 signs and the rest of the money go into the foundation. That's why I thought if maybe on a sidebar, I'd pay for Ash's sign out of my budget. That would.
I don't know if my motion even mentioned where his money would come from. It can come from your budget. I mean, that's fine with me, but, you know, if it needs a donation, I can come up with a donation.
Okay.
That added,
Understand?
adding that too?
Yeah, he's requested to add Judge
Right.
Ash a plaque. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, call for the motion. Is everybody understand the motion? So let's vote on the motion.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Allen. I'm sorry, Chairman McAdoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, TDOT request for county property on Malloy Lane for New Salem Highway widening project. You want to talk on that, or you want Steve to talk on
Mike.
it?
Mike's got the map.
Mike got it?
Chairman, thank you. If you recall, last month, TDOT asked for right-of-way easement, acquisition, and a construction easement on their widening project of Thompson Lane, State Route 266. Well, they've come back with another request for another project, but this project, the plans have already been approved, so what they're asking for now is an interim right of entry, so to allow them to start working on Malloy Lane. And I'll go to my maps. This is the county jail and sheriff's office property. Well, they're widening New Salem Highway from Old Fort Parkway down to Cason Lane, this leg of it. They've got plans together, but then they've come back and said, okay, well, we need to modify our plans, and we're going to be getting into a little bit of the county's property on this little leg that comes out to Malloy Lane. And I'll go back to the plans. This is the parcel here in question, the sheriff's property right here. So what they've come back, and this is on your iPad and also on the screen up here, they've had to extend the work that they're doing on Malloy Lane. So what's happening, they'll have to get into a little bit of the sheriff's property on Malloy Lane here. And so they don't have all the right-of-way acquisition documents together, the easements and all that. So what they're asking for is a right of entry, so they can come in and start doing the work. And I'll pull that up on the screen. This is the document they're wanting us to be able to sign. It's not giving up any rights, it's just allowing them to work. They will come back later, you'll see this again, they'll come back later and you'll see the right-of-way acquisition that they need, you'll see the slope easements, if any, and construction easements, if any. But essentially, they're just asking for permission to get in on the county's property and do some work to build that section of Malloy Lane where it'll tie into State Route 99. This is just to give I guess the mayor permission to, authority to sign this document, allowing them to work.
In discussion, Commissioner
I'll make a
Dodd.
motion to approve this, understanding that the state will come back later with a market price for us like they
Yes, sir.
did on Thompson Lane. So
Yes, sir.
I fully support this and the motion as written.
Second.
Motion is second. Any more discussion?
Got one point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Whose district, does anybody know whose district this intersection's in?
I believe
District
yours, Commissioner Johnson?
13. Who's 13?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, sir.
This commission. No, it's in your district.
But I would just suggest, I went ahead and called when I saw that, and it's going to cut a deeper swath into Bubba Russell. And since that's one of your constituents, it may take away some of his parking. You may just want to go by, stop in, and talk to Bubba and say, you know, this is going to affect you not only on the front with the widening of 99, but as it curves in, it's going to take away. And he's very limited. He's landlocked. So talk to him, and if he has to sell his business, I don't know, because he's got 3 buildings where he works on vehicles, and he has a stacking problem. So you may just want to stop by there and pay him a courtesy call, Commissioner.
This is a street view of the property that the mayor's talking about on the screen up here. This is Malloy Lane that we're looking at here, and the mechanics property next door with their driveway entrance.
I don't think anybody would have any heartache and woe in my district.
But our motion only pertains to our property. So we're not speaking on his behalf.
That is correct, but I just,
Courtesy call.
as a courtesy call, you know, from a commissioner, just letting you know that the state's coming knocking.
Any more discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, I don't see Ben, so I guess the mayor is going to present it to us. I think we could go ahead and take 5, 6, and 7 together.
I'll give you a quick update on the archives.
One in north and one south.
Yeah, we'll start with archives. All the skin is on the building. We talked about that this morning with Mr. Mankin and Brett with Cadell, and Bart Klein, who is the architect on there. There's a couple of change orders they're working on next door here about putting roof pads on the roof, and it was a good idea that Ben came up with, is to put a door that leads out from the second level of the new archives building onto the old roof instead of having to get a cherry picker or something to get up on that roof. So they'll have access to the old roof as well. I think next in line, they were working this morning about putting in the security cameras, all the safety features on the doors, and running the low voltage wiring for security. And because if you remember, members, the Sheriff's Department will be taking those criminal files that they store down in Laverne, and also the ones that are on the trailer on the premises of the Sheriff's Department. So we won't have to pay rent anymore down in Laverne, and they'll have closer access. Everything will be cataloged in our archives building. So when there's some deputy calls from Georgia and they pull somebody over and they need instant access to a criminal file, what happens right now, we have to go to Laverne and get somebody to go back and pull that file and bring it out, and they charge us, and then when they take it back and file it, they charge us. So we'll have access to those files, but we want to make sure that those files are secured in this building. So that being said, on the archives building, we're probably sometime finishing that project by May 1. We should be finished. So I think that's pretty good timetable. They were delayed on getting the steel. They put them behind about 6 weeks getting the steel manufactured because of COVID-related issues. 20 North, they're probably still over there talking about it. There were several change orders that came in, especially with the third floor. There was some discussion on 20 North with the architect saying that they might have to come back in and put support, reinforce the support underneath the third floor or the roof of the second floor because of the weight. They have the rolling file cabinets like Robin Gentry used to have. That's what she has now, Child Support Services, when she was in that building before, if you recall, on the fourth floor, they had those rolling files, and there was no additional support. They did find that there was a column that was used to be welded that came down in the middle of one of the court. It was on the original plans, but it came down in the middle of a courtroom, and it was cut out for whatever purpose. Nobody remembers, but probably some judge at that point in time didn't want that column sticking in the middle of his courtroom, and they cut it out. So they think for less than $5,000 they can get a beam, and they're going to have to get a crane and bring it through a window and go back in and re-support because of the additional weight of those files that she has. The fifth and fourth floor for IT is basically completed. They're probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks can start bringing furniture in. They were waiting on the fire pump. It's been on order for about 6 months that supplies the sprinkler system. That is in, and they'll start working of getting the fire pump in this coming Monday, which will allow possibly them to go to the city once the fire pump is in and the elevators are completed. Then they can go to the city and get a temporary certificate of occupancy for IT to go ahead and move out of the courthouse here over into 20 North. Probation down on the first and second floor, they're probably 90% completed. All the ceiling tiles will be done this next week. And then they got started on the third floor a little late. So we're looking at a completion date by April to have everybody in that building. And we had a timetable with the current lease agreement we have down the street here on West Main for probation to be out no later than May 1st. So we're ahead of schedule and won't have to pay maybe that additional month of rent down there. So that's good on 20 North. Any questions? Okay.
One stop.
The one stop, okay, so they're still over there talking about one stop, and I kind of brought them up to speed. The PBA back before Christmas had talked about choosing an architect and interviewing the architect, and then they changed their mind right before Christmas and said, let's try a design build. Kind of like Blake Smith or Dow Smith, who used to be on there. They've stepped down off the PBA. I know the city of Murfreesboro, they used Blake Smith and saved several $1 million by going to design build. So during that process right before Christmas, I was talking to the lady with Stream at the state of Tennessee, who is with the Department of General Services, on behalf of the Department of Safety. She says using a design build will not work for us. The state of Tennessee requires that they have to have the floor design and the plot design in our hands before we'll sign the 7-year lease agreement back with you, the county. So in essence, that by default allowed Bart Klein, who had already done some preliminary estimates, that's how we got to the numbers where we were, floor design working with Mike on the floor design, but so that has now allowed Bart Klein, who's our contractor on the archives, to be the architect. They're working with SEC on getting the geotechnical and other
Topographic survey, yes, sir.
Other information. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Getting
Right.
that done, and they're probably, I think Bart told me, maybe 6 weeks out.
For the survey,
Yes, sir.
I believe that's probably right, yes, sir.
Yeah, about 6 weeks out. They just passed, before I stepped over here, they passed to go ahead and sign the agreement between the county and the PBA for the one-stop project. And so they will, as soon as all that is done in 6 weeks, they will probably put it out to bid and select a contractor. And we'll be on our way.
Any questions on One Stop? I think that's good timing because it look like Archives and 20 North possibly will be finished.
Well, and the subs over here are looking for some other opportunities as well. So if they can keep them around long enough till we can get this thing started, then we'll have some subs. You know.
Right.
Okay.
Looking good. Any questions on One Stop?
Lisa, you're closer than you ever been.
Okay. If not, we'll move on. Town of Smyrna request for county property at Fire Station Number 1 on Elon Springs Road. Mike, you want to?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman.
Let me before Mike shows you where this is at, I had a request from Mayor Mary Esther Reed, and then Brian Hercules and Jeff Peach came to see me about a week ago, and they said we have a parcel of property, which Mike will pull up, and you already got it up.
Yes, sir.
So everything inside that yellow frame is ours. And I believe, Mike, you said that came to us back in the 40s.
Yes, sir.
School board bought that back in the 40s when the base was still there.
Yeah.
This was part of the old school, Rock
The
School.
old school, Commissioner Cook. You remember Rockford School?
The old Rock School, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a remnant parcel from that.
Okay.
And when Enon Springs came through, it kind of carved off.
Sure. It really doesn't serve us any purpose unless you want to put a toll gate there to let the fire trucks out. But, I was kidding with Mr. Hercules, and it really doesn't serve any purpose to us. So my recommendation to you is they want to expand, the fire hall wants to expand to put in more sleeping facilities for their firemen. So my recommendation is to change ownership of that parcel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, but Commissioner,
do we recall whose district that's in?
that district would be, I'm thinking it may be.
Mike?
Have it on
I'm
the
going to pull
end.
it up. Yes, sir. 11? Who's 11?
You're 13. Wayne Blair.
Blair. Wayne
Yes.
Blair.
Yeah, like Wayne's up there. Wayne's with us now, but
Is he?
want to make sure he's good with that too.
Well, good. That tell him that's his district.
Mr. Chairman, actually, I'm District 10.
Oh, 10? Well, that would be,
Rhonda Allen.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you,
I'm sure that
Commissioner
she's okay. I'm sure she's okay with it, but I hope that,
We'll
that we
definitely
can
inform her.
contact her.
But it's more information that I don't know if the mayor wants to talk about it now concerning this piece, or you want to go ahead and give him the complete picture now of what
Yeah,
you're thinking?
and the reason I'm saying we donated property down in Laverne, Commissioner Gammon, back to the city where they can build a county facility. And there's no doubt we have no use for a small remnant like that. So let's just go ahead and move in. Can you pull up, Mike, can you pull up the map at Weekly? And here's what I'm going to propose to you at what we do at Weekly.
Sure.
As you know, Weekly is our busiest convenience center there on Weekly Drive. He actually, since we were going to take the parcel behind our convenience center, which is a laydown lot for their water department, he asked if he would run the sewer from, is that G Street?
Yes, sir. G Street on the west side.
on the backside where their water department is, he would run the sewer line across their property up to our property on Weekly. If he could move his laydown lot over next to, on the 18 acres that we have down next to our clerk's office.
And I'll pull that up right now. So.
Okay. And so Mike shared with us that already has water and sewer on our property, the 18 acres where Lisa's lot is. He also informed us that the new FEMA maps are coming out and the flood area they're going to be receding back from, I guess that's Stewart's Creek.
Yes, sir.
So that frees up a lot more of our property on that 18 acres. So as Commissioner Sparks had been trying for several years to get us to move off of Weekly because it's so congested, I'll suggest to you that instead of letting the laydown lot go there, that we move our convenience center down to that parcel on the backside, and then we can sell him, Mr. Hercules. He wants to come up with a price. He said, price it to me at a good price. The laydown lot where he currently is, we take the front property if he'll put the sewer on, and we sell it because it is zoned commercial?
Industrial.
Industrial.
Both properties are industrial.
Heavy industrial, isn't it?
It's an I-2 zone, yes, sir.
So you see there's some things that give and take of what the city wants and some
Right.
give and take of...
Essentially, they came to us and said they wanted 5 acres up here. This is the Smyrna branch of the county clerk's office, and they said, would you give us, well, not give us, but would you entertain us getting 5 acres from the county up here?
And Lisa, I knew that it might give some concern of us putting our convenience center down there, but I can assure you that we'll bring the traffic in a different direction. It won't impede your traffic coming into your location, and we will make sure that it's well landscaped and fencing to where it's not visible. Okay? It's just getting a lot of that traffic off of backing up, because if you turn off of Nissan Boulevard, you got about 150 feet and it starts stacking up back to Nissan, and then you come from Swan and it goes past Swan on many Saturdays. It's so congested. So this might give us that freedom. Yes, ma'am.
Where is the current convenience center at?
On Weekly?
It's this
Yes.
smaller yellow parcel a little bit farther to the south, and it is the county's busiest convenience center. And then this is, up here is the vehicle emissions testing and the county clerk's branch up here. But like the mayor was saying, Weekly is an arterial road, so it's a busy thoroughfare that comes through here. So, yes, sir.
Matter of fact, right down from that at the corner of Swan and Weekly, they're improving that intersection because a lot of those semis would come out and get hung up on the telephone pole right there as they cut out from, it used to be Swan Drugs. What is that? John, that they still do the same thing as Swan Drugs.
The same thing.
It's got a French name.
Zoom in there again.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that right there, that's their drop lot right now that's or was, where that tree line is. Can you show where, yeah, there's the tree line. And then to the right, that's our convenience center now. And then Weekly is to the right. That's that road Weekly right there. And that's across from your mini storage and
So my
all that,
thought
right?
is we work with them on selling them that back lot that they currently have and give them the property in front of the fire hall, if they'll run the sewer up to our lot to where it would make it more valuable to sell. But the properties adjacent to it, Steve looked it up the other day, this property right here that I'm pointing at the bottom, that was sold for $3 million.
It's their storage yard where they keep pipe and head walls and stuff they need for their public works. But they have property here, and I believe up here too, that is both the town of Smyrna property. And this is their public works office, I believe, down here. Mm-hmm.
Mike, all that together, is that 4-point-something acres, I think?
Like 4.5 acres,
okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's almost half is what the convenience center's on.
Mr. Hercules said he wouldn't be interested in the front part where our convenience center is currently located on Weekly, but he would be interested in the current 2 acres that he has for the laydown lot.
And then now can you go back
We'll
to
price it right.
to the lot behind the clerk's office?
Okay. And this was at one time old military basic housing.
Mike explained to the commission there, right now, part of this is in a FEMA flood plain, but that's in the process of being redone. I think COVID has pushed it back a little bit, but it's getting ready to change. If you'll show them those two differences and changes so everybody's on the same page.
So Deputy Sandlin's correct. The FEMA had restudied this area. Right now, the flood zone comes almost all the way up to the county clerk's Smyrna branch. But this blue area is going to be removed from the FEMA flood zone. This yellow area is the 500-year flood that's being removed, and it will be only at this gray area here. So that the flood area is shrinking dramatically from what it is right now to what it will be in the future. So that's going to make this land even more valuable. It's at, more of it's out of the flood zone. And then, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just making sure. So the gray area is going to turn into the blue area.
Yes.
The blue will turn into the yellow, so which that means it would be in the 500 year instead of, okay.
Right. We don't regulate, or Smyrna doesn't regulate to the 500-year floodplain. It's just a smaller statistical chance that.
While you've got that up there, Mike, Lisa has asked us to take a look at extending her parking. She needs additional parking, am I correct? Along, Mike, show them where she's looking to put more parking.
This area here, what the plan is to expand the parking lot this way, and then where this driveway comes in off I Street, have it come down and go around the parking lot for longer queue lanes for the drive-in windows, and maybe add another drive-in window up here as well. So that'll give a lot more stacking to for those drive-in lanes.
And the inspection station is going to go away.
Yes. Yes, sir. But another aspect to think about is this is like 18.2 acres, and it would be more valuable to keep it as one big hunk of land instead of selling off a piece. And if you look just a little bit to the west, I think less than half a mile, is the Smyrna Airport. So having that much industrial property right next to the Smyrna Airport would be wise to hold on to that if we could.
Hate to keep adding things on, but Mike, and Mayor, y'all just approved a few months ago they were wanting some extra ball fields in Smyrna, and according to Mr. Hercules, that they would still be able to do what they needed to do on the remainder of the land that we weren't actually wanting to put convenience center on. If the county commission decided to put the convenience center down there.
Yeah, he said they really haven't used them because of COVID. haven't been able to develop them, and it's a one-year lease that we keep renewing for Smyrna to use that.
Okay, Commissioner Dodd?
So the current convenience center, that portion of our 4+ acres, we would retain.
Yes, sir.
Smyrna only wants what's about 2 acres that's currently used for their public works.
That's correct.
So we don't have to move the convenience center. It can't expand into that area, but currently it's only using what Smyrna's not using.
Yeah.
Correct?
That's correct, but he's prepared to move his laydown yard away because we need to expand it for future growth. So we either stay where we are, we don't have water and sewer on it, we'll have to pay for that to get it connected, or we move down to property that has water and sewer on it and move and build a brand new facility and sell the first 2 acres. And
That Smyrna doesn't want.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Dodd, also, I'll interject, Mayor, on that was one of your 4 sites that you was wanting to do the improvement on, especially since this one was the #1 site
Correct.
as far as traffic and recycling and taking your household trash. So the stacking lane was going to be improved here, but we were going to take up the whole 4 acres. We were going to put the ramp type thing that the mayor had talked about, on the other side of that tree line, do away with that tree line. This would move it all down to this location and expand it, and not on the other location, and get those vehicles off weekly.
And on your iPads and also on the screen up above here is a plan that was generated back when the Smyrna clerk's office, the Smyrna branch of the clerk's office was designed. That they had thought to move the convenience center over here on this property, and this was kind of the master plan for that.
And the Smyrna ball fields are north of that. The proposed use,
Yeah.
temporary use from Smyrna's, this doesn't disrupt their.
I guess what we need from this committee is, would we like to go ahead and proceed on with the discussion with the town of Smyrna?
What I would
this
suggest,
project?
Mr. Chairman, is that we take one bite at a time. Let's go ahead. Do you want to, on the fire property, if you want to donate that to, now you know the whole story, but if you want to donate the remnant to the fire hall?
You want that piece first?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do everybody understand what we're discussing now? Just the gift of the Rock School property to the town of Smyrna.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Gooch,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Gammon,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes.
Now, secondly, Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to do is to take this idea, get a blessing from this committee, go to Public Works and talk to them about the possibility of moving from weekly. That will give us time to, Mr. Hercules told us today, he would like to know what kind of number we were looking at, and we said, well, what do you think it's worth? And he said, no, you go first. So he says, I don't know if I've got it in the budget to buy those 2 acres, but that'll give us time to determine what to price those 2 acres behind our current weekly. If he doesn't buy it, we can stay there and put our own sewer line in there, or we can move down to, and that's what I'd like to take the Public Works, down to the other facility.
Any discussion on what will be presented to Public Works. Need a motion to that
No,
effect?
sir.
It's just the information only.
Well, unless, without objection, you know.
Have any objections to going to Public Works with this information?
Unless you want to make a motion, whatever you want to do.
I hate for
Your
you
call.
to get to Public Works and they be asking for a motion.
Okay.
You see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yes, sir. Okay, that'd be fine.
If we go ahead and do the motion now, then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion if we could on the presentation to Public Works about the senior center on Weekly Lane.
So I'll make a motion to entertain
Entertain
an
and
offer
continue.
from Smyrna, or to entertain dialogue with Smyrna regarding the price for a portion of the current convenience center, and take the question to Public Works about potentially moving the center or expanding the center.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I call the roll.
Commissioner Buchanan? Yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Yes. Commissioner Dodd.
Before we leave the topic, I digress.
That's okay. And it's not another portion to it, is it?
No, sir.
Do it.
Yeah.
I guess, once you go to Public Works and see what they say, are you gonna bring their answer back to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'll bring it back, and
Wanted to know what.
we'll throw a number out there, and we may have some discussion between us and Smyrna. You know, we may throw a number and he thinks it's too high, or, you know, I don't think it'll be too low. But we'll bring whatever they decide to do, and then you'll have, if they say no, then you'll have a choice of either staying where we are or going down there. But I know what he's going to do. If he doesn't like the price that we shoot on the other 2 acres, he's going to say, well, can I come down here, down to where he is, put my lay down lot where Lisa is on that 18 acres. But that'll be a choice that this committee will make. Okay.
All right. Okay, I think we made it through okay on that. Next on the agenda, community care.
Community care, we, members, we are, did we vote on the motion? No, I'm talking about on that last motion.
Yeah, we voted.
Okay.
I thought we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we voted on that.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking something else. Okay, so community care, of course, members, as you know, we have a new director in an agreement with United Church Homes. They're out of Marion, Ohio. They started about, Carol, what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 3-4 weeks ago. He's out there right now working diligently. We have started construction on the old wing. If you recall, we had requested a grant from the Christy Houston Foundation. They've been sitting on hold because COVID hit last March when we were getting ready to start construction, and it just shut everything down. So they started, and they're out there working right now. Construction on that wing is underway. We got our COVID cases down because we were using that wing for triage. And so we're moving forward on that. I talked to Ann Davis with Christy Houston earlier this week on Monday. She just wanted to make sure that we still owned and retained the nursing home. We didn't sell it. And I said no, and the employees are still ours. We just have a contract for the administrator to help us run it. So she's going to go ahead and send a check to us of their portion from the grant. Also, at the last board meeting, Commissioner Cook is on that board. I brought a proposal to them, right now we have a daycare center on the premises. That daycare center operates during the day for our employees if they want to bring, and we have about 22 is our current count of children from our employees at the daycare. So our proposal is to move forward, and we have engaged Johnson and Bailey Architects because they were the last ones to do the last wing on that facility, and to build a 24/7 daycare. We had Sonia Stevenson, our HR director, send out a poll to all the different department heads and ask, not just to the department heads, but all the general fund employees who would be interested in utilizing a 24/7 daycare that we can build adjacent to the covered walkway daycare facility. We got back about 342 responses because we have EMS, Sheriff's Department, Correctional Workhouse, that have other departments that have second and third shifts. A lot of times we're missing an opportunity on hiring and also retention of keeping good employees. If we can come in and build a facility to take care of their children, what a recruitment opportunity it is for our community to have a daycare facility that's open 24/7. We already have a fully equipped stainless steel kitchen and cook. We may have to hire another shift, but we can feed those kids. My daughter's 30 years old, and I didn't realize how much daycare was costing, but I've been told between $250 and $300 a week for one kid. So if we could come in with some good, reasonable pricing, lower than what the industry is, and we give opportunities for all of our county employees to bring their child for daycare and night care, if you will. So that's in the motion, and we're moving in that direction. It will be built on the pads where the two wings were previously back behind it, and they were torn down from the old nursing home. So we're excited, a lot of excitement over that. Commissioner Cook, any comments?
We look forward to this company, United Church, doing a lot of marketing for us and building up our number out there.
Correct.
And we need that. We are licensed for 131 beds, and we don't have near that many out there right now. So, and we, the county, own the building.
Correct.
A lot of people don't understand that. And then we select someone to run the inside under the supervision of the board.
That's correct. The board will still maintain control. That's in the agreement with the United Church Homes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Regarding the daycare, it's a community care board decision, and
That's
community
correct.
care is going to fund it, but we fund community care.
No, sir.
Grants and Christie, all
Yes,
are
sir.
state.
Yeah, community care, I believe, Carol, I think back in 98, somewhere in that neighborhood, Commissioner Sandlin, the commission decided, it was having trouble with administrators. It wasn't making money, and I think they said, let's make it stand on its own 2 feet. Let's see if they can make it or not. And that's when the community care, even though they were quasi, we still allow them to, all of their employees are on our health care plan. They can invest into the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement Plan, but community care, we don't fund them anywhere in our budget. It's all, they pay their own way. We own the property. If the air conditioner goes out, yes, sir, we do that. But the proposal is right now that community care, we're not coming to the county to ask them to build this building for the daycare.
do the employees at community care operate under Rutherford County HR? You said the insurance, but Sonia's doing questionnaires.
That was to
our employees.
Our county employees, not to theirs.
And then the county employees would then take their children to a non-county employed person to look after their child, right?
It would not, their county employee would go to community care, who carries its own separate insurance, et cetera. It doesn't fall back on us. If we build it, let's say for capacity of 125, I was talking to the architect the other day, they're going to drive down to Chattanooga and look at the facility down there. It's the closest one that's 24/7, and see how they're staffed, how they're set up, et cetera. You got to have, the state oversees daycare facilities. You got to have so many staff per child. It's kind of like a school. If we build it for, let's say, 125 capacity and we only have 75, then we were approached by this past year by United Way and Boys and Girls Club, and with the idea of building this type facility to make it, if we can't fill it with our own employees, then we open it up to, let's say, Pillsbury, Rich Products, some of those other industries that are close to County Farm Road that would be available to bring their kids at a reduced daycare price. We just want to make sure that it's successful, and then when it's profitable, we'll take the profits from that and put it back into community care. That becomes more self-sustaining than what it currently is.
And so it's to a degree, it's a speculative choice. It's competing with private enterprise daycares. Granted, they don't have to 24/7. If it doesn't succeed with county employees, it expands to where we ask private companies to come utilize it. And if they don't utilize it, we've built it for 125 and we have 70 coming. What was the impetus? I don't understand how we got.
Want me to explain?
How we got to getting in the daycare business. Unless the board's decided and it's a done deal, you're just giving us info.
You want me to explain it to him from the beginning?
Yeah, go ahead on the daycare.
Okay, on the daycare, several years ago, and Commissioner Cook know about this also, we had a director and we looked at how they operated nursing homes in Cook County. It was Cook County. And what they had, they were bringing in children, daycare children, and the patients of the nursing home really enjoyed this and watched those kids, and it was like a therapy deal for the senior citizens. So therefore, it wasn't costing us anything, so we voted, the board voted, to try this project to see if we could make it work with our facility. And we did. And it was very successful, per se, with the senior citizens. That's how we got started with this project. We didn't go out there trying to cut out the private sector, but it was like a therapy for the senior citizens or whatnot. And it's been highly successful. And Commissioner Cook, Commissioner Buchanan can talk on this project.
When they originally started this, they came and when I owned my child care center on Butler, they came and looked at mine to get an idea of getting a modular building. And Mr. King, I think that's who I talked to.
Yeah.
He was telling me how it's going to be therapy for the children and things of that sort. But it turned out to be real good.
It's highly successful with the senior citizen. And we got this project from Chicago, Cook County, and we saw it on national news and everything like that. And that's how we got started. Commissioner Cook?
Bit of history, and it before my time. Back in the 1800s, late 1800s, they used to have boards and the patients could not walk out of their rooms. They were like they were in jail. So we have come a long ways.
The
And
county
so
farm.
there,
Yeah.
and the children love it.
And
They
the senior
cry to
citizens
go to
love
see
it.
go into the nursing home, and visit.
I think with our continued growth at 125 students, I think if we can, help provide opportunities for parents to take their child and know it's going to be secure instead of taking a chance of leaving it at home or somewhere else, I think it would be beneficial.
And that's how we got into the daycare business.
Yeah, thanks for the history lesson. I was ignorant of the board, and so bringing it to our attention is information. It's not a question of us supporting a budget or
No.
a construction or staffing.
No, that was just FYI.
Okay, thank you.
I can give you a little bit more history, and I think Commissioner Cook can also. It was a point in time that the county needed money, and we borrowed the money from community care. So it's definitely been over the last several years, ever since Commissioner Roy Woods, and that's been 20, 25 years ago or whatever, been self-supported.
That's been longer than that.
Commissioner Gannon?
I just want to comment. It was just a few weeks ago, the mayor and I was at 911, and I know he's asked other employees as well. And the ladies and gentlemen that worked there were excited to hear, because we were talking to them about how much they were spending on daycare and if it would be beneficial to them. They were really excited about it. The mayor may want to say more about that, but I just wanted to make that comment that I think the employees of Rutherford County is going to really be benefiting from it, because $250 a week or something like that, I think is what I heard it was costing.
I'd like to ask Veronica to help us. You have a lot of knowledge there, so anything that you can share of your knowledge in that business.
I can tell you this much: it is very expensive to put your children in, because you got to pay for staff and all those things. But when they approached me about this, I thought it was a great idea. It wasn't no kind of competition for me, because it was a staff and stuff, but childcare is very expensive. It is, and I think this is really going to be a plus for them.
Well, and what makes it tough for the private sector, it gives an advantage to the facility there at the nursing home. We don't have to buy the land. That's already paid for, and you already have a cook staff, with a full complete kitchen, which would be a huge expense, and by the time you got up and ready, you'd have to charge more than $200. I don't know what the price would be, so I think that's why they're going to be able to offer a lower price. It's more competitive for our employees.
Okay, any more questions on community care? Anything to add to it? If not, any other business? Have any other business? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.